All right, thanks to Google and a few problems tonight that they waved at us. But here's tonight's program. Stay tuned. David Whitley joins the program next, right here at the Buddy Martin Show.
It's time again for Buddy Martin. Call him up and tell him what you're thinking. But be kind because he's doing the best he can.
Better, stronger, faster.
Mama says that alligators are ornery because they got all them teeth but no toothbrush.
Hey, what if the voice calls while you're gone?
Take a message.
Bye.
You ready, champ?
I'm ready for this my whole life.
But that's why you love me, right?
Kind of intimidating to be in the presence of so many great athletes.
If it's Tuesday, it must be David Whitley. Wasn't there a movie called that one time? This must be Belgium, I think it was called.
Belgium,
David,
yes.
yeah.
I'm often confused for Belgium.
Yeah, you look a little like him.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a little taller, but
Yeah.
not as good, not as handsome. David, it's always good to have you on a whimsical Tuesday because sometimes when all the heat of action is going on, you want to push back and say, wait a minute, what did I just see here? And how does it all add up? Such as this crazy weekend. When I last saw you, you were chilled and typing. I left the press box. I'd sat there for a good bit after listening to the very loud and very late FSU band wailing away in an empty stadium where 90,000 people have been extracted and a few guys down throwing the ball around and a couple of lonely sports writers in a press box trying to carve out something. And there you were. You had that look in your eye. It was like old Red Smith said, writing is easy. Just open the vein and let it go. And so you were doing that. So anyway, it's kind of a scene in my mind. I seared in my mind thinking, I'm covering a school that's proud for its 3 national championships. Now it's have a losing season 3 straight times. And the rival is across the way, undefeated, playing their music. And I must say it sounded pretty darn good as FSU's band does, but not sweet music to the ears of Gators.
No, you're right. I was. It is. I like what Red Smith. I've always, thought that's true. You just open your vein and bleed. But it was hard to bleed. It's hard to bleed. You say it's the press box. It's actually the press deck because a box would intimate that it's enclosed.
Yes.
The deck. Well, I don't know. I think that was the coldest place in Gainesville because I went down on the field. It wasn't. It was okay, but man, that wind. And after sitting there for 3 hours. I didn't warm up till about Monday at 5 o'clock. Thaw out enough, but anyway, yeah, it was that FSU band. They were going to squeeze every minute out of that because it's not often you get to come into Gainesville and beat the Gators and that to the victor goes the spoils, and that I guess that's the Michigan fight song though.
That fight song sounds pretty good these days too, by the way. And David, I just watched, why I was watching FSU's man, I have no idea. The precision which they dismounted and got their 80,000 musicians on the field, marched off to a rhythm. There was a lot of cadence and rhythm there. I thought, if only Florida's offense could be that well timed.
Right. Yeah. Well, maybe that's who they ought to bring as offensive coordinator, the band director from FSU. Now, that would be an out of the box hire.
Yeah, I think you should recommend that. As only you could write that one, I'm sure. Yeah.
But since we have spoken last, there certainly has been some shaking going on.
Shaking and baking, man, for sure. Speaking of which, can you believe that Bobby Petrino is being vetted as Arkansas's next offensive coordinator? Is this some kind of Seinfeld? What is going on there?
It almost seems like something you would read at the Onion or Babylon Bee, I just hope he gets an NIL deal somehow from a local Harley dealership this time.
I can see a column coming.
Yeah, but time heals all wounds, or in this case, all sprained necks. Whatever he suffered there. And if he can juice up that offense at this point, that they'll take him. Just he's being hired for his ability to put points on the board, not his ability to score with the ladies. So,
hello, bing, boom, where's the rib shot? Pow. So is it wounds heal all time? What is it again? It's time heals all wounds, yes. But wounds heal all times. I don't know. I can't. I'm trying to get to the transition here because I want to ask you about the curse of the thrown shoe. It's a real thing. I mean, it's not just voodoo. It's a real thing, and I read a tweet about it today. Life can completely change over the throwing of a shoe. And I read a thing today that said this is on December 12th, 2020. They were 9-1 as Eastern Division champions, on the cusp of improving to 10-1 and facing Alabama in the SEC championship game, right? Then the shoe was thrown around the world, heard around the world. Gators completed 3 straight losing seasons with an embarrassing 17-24 record since that time, as well as being outscored in their last 3 bowl games, 114-40. This is a real thing, David.
It does sort of make you step back and wonder about, there are those hinge points in history where something happened, and you point, boy, if this had happened, and how life might have been different if only, if Lee Harvey Oswald hadn't shown up at Dallas that day, something. I mean, this obviously isn't quite on that scale, but yeah, if Marco Wilson, if the shoe had just fallen 5 yards further away, and I mean, the realist in me thinks, well, the lack of good recruiting would have eventually caught up with Dan and everything anyway. But then you can make the case, well, gosh, if they'd won that game, gone on, I mean, that team could score with anybody, obviously. And, so it's not far-fetched to think, hey, they could have beaten Bama and gone on and made quite a run. And with that kind of mojo going and the Hebner Center open, and maybe Dan think, yeah, I can do it. It fired him up to start making a lot more recruiting calls, and we're not sitting here
making some recruiting calls.
Yeah, making some recruiting calls.
Yeah.
And he says, I'm not, I'm not going to mail it in. He fired him up, dedicated, and away we go. And AR, he has the magic keys to unlock AR because they've been working with him from the start, and they make the run, and it's fun to do this. It's fun to sit back, but and conjure what if. But unfortunately, reality, as I say, reality bites, and here we are talking about the reality of a third straight losing season, and I mean, God, people keep talking about next year's schedule, and I took a look at it today, really for the first time, and I'm thinking, man, they can be a lot better next year and still not have a lot better record.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing: if you go back and look at their close games, Arkansas being one, if they just won two of their close games, they'd be in a bowl game right now. Life would be differently. Oh, yeah. And I don't know about that whole thing. I was never a Marco Wilson fan. I just never cared for him, whatever reason. And when Dan Mullen said we have a bunch of independent contractors, my first thought was Marco Wilson. Just had that feeling. Maybe I was wrong. That was the feeling I had. And then to have this mojo going this way, outscored 114-40. But here's my other anecdote. At least it got to a bowl.
Yeah. Yeah, they won't be outscored this year.
No, exactly right.
Yeah. It is sad when you look at what the 70-plus schools that did qualify for a bowl, including the luminaries such as I guess Arkansas State and Rice, and so of course none of them played exactly an SEC schedule, right. So there is that. But you never thought you'd miss the Birmingham Bowl until you're not in the Birmingham Bowl
or the Weed Eater.
Yeah, the Weed Eater Bowl.
David, this is not your first rodeo, your first barbecue, or your coach firings. You've been through this a few times. And today, talking with Shane Matthews about this, I've been through 10 of these, starting with Ray Graves. and all but two coaches were fired or left on their own. Two coaches left on their own volition, Urban and Steve, and the rest of them all got run out, and a lot of them recently, and so the mojo is going the wrong way. Now it's the pink slip school. When you go and rent a coach for 2 years, go next. We thought we had got out of this morass with Billy because he's a man of good character and he's a solid football thinker and a good coach. What went wrong, David?
I think that when you look at what happened today, or actually yesterday, that is a start of where you can point the finger. The defense is, gosh, I'm trying to think the last time they had a good defense here, but people, I'm like you. I've tended to give Billy a lot of the benefit of the doubt coming in, and with the amount of work needed on this rebuilding project. But I think he realized that he needs a rebuilding project within the rebuilding project. Is what it amounts to, and that the initial staff he bought in just wasn't doing a good enough job. Now that's on them, but it's also on him.
Very much on him. Very much on him.
But I think that it's still 2 years. It's still too early to start writing any obits. But I think he 5-7, not making a bowl, and all that. There's things that you can point to that are progress. The recruiting, the culture, etc. But they're just not tangible. What's tangible to a fan is 5-7. And what you see, and as he said, you are what your record says you are. The whole thing, and this is a 5-7 team. So I think that he needs. Obviously, we've been over it 100 times, 1,000 times. Everybody knows, the special teams needs help. The maybe offensive coordinator needs help, and the the defense got off such a decent start, or the offense this year was so sputtering that the defense sort of flew under the radar and thought, well, it's doing okay. But then, the last half of the season, it was just totally exposed over and over and over again. And you look back at the hires he made at the time. Yeah, who wouldn't want Corey Raymond? Because he had a great reputation.
I thought it was a great hire. When they got him, I thought he's the answer. And I thought when they put him in charge of the secondary, that was a good hire. But what do I know? Obviously, not very much.
Right, and I think he it's just a head scratcher because he was producing cornerbacks at LSU.
DBU. He started DBU there.
Yeah, and he was obviously he's always been an ace recruiter, and he was a good recruiter here. But on the field, the product just wasn't there. And when I was like you, I thought, all right, well, Patrick Toney left, and so they promoted him to from cornerbacks coach to whole secondary. I thought, well, that would just make it
makes sense.
Yeah, it would make sense because you have more cohesion there. Safeties, cornerbacks, whatever. But it's a as Billy said after saying, it's a production business, and they didn't. You have to produce. And I was looking today. It's astounding. 3 interceptions the entire year.
I couldn't believe that number. I saw it.
I couldn't find all that. There are 5 guys who've had 3 in a game.
Yeah, really. I was going to say that'd be impressive. 3 in a game.
You couldn't muster 3.
Can't get 3 picks in the whole season, and I thought that might be what they might be ball hawkers. Urban's defense. They played the ball in the air a lot, and I don't know. But here's the deal: if I said to you, and they were starting out the season. Or he was starting out. I'm going to hire Sean Spencer, defensive line coach of the New York Giants.
Yeah.
Okay. Formerly at Penn State, and I said to you, and they're going to hire the guy who started DBU, Corey Brewer at LSU. Would you think those would be good? And even Rob Sale, formerly offensive line coach of the New York Giants, allegedly offensive coordinator here, which he's not. I mean, I don't know. It sounds like solid hires, but we're having problems quite figuring out what went wrong, because the first place I was started reconstruction was the offensive line, which became terrible at the end.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever reasons you want to say, they did. They had some good efforts, good players. It was just not cohesive. It was ugly. They couldn't line up straight, and they just couldn't block. And that's a problem. So with that thought in mind, we're going to play a game called In and Out. I played it this morning with Shane Matthews on his show, going over the other 8 coaches and saying in or out, no debating, just saying in or out, whatever. I'm going to first take a break and hear from Jeffrey Melton on some basketball. He's excited about basketball now. And then we come back. Maybe we're going to play this cut from this morning from Shane, and then you give me your thought. I'm going to go over the list and get you to tell me who should be in and out, okay?
Okay.
Stand by. Jeffrey Melton, a lot of people are pretty excited about this basketball team, and the performance against Florida State and other games that they've had since really have put Florida squarely on the map. And this is a new bunch, very exciting players. I know you get a chance to watch them up close there. You sit right in there, right next to the coach. I got a feeling you're whispering plays to him, Jeffrey.
Yeah, well, it's really fun because I've been going to the basketball games for 35, 40 years now. And being able to sit in the front row behind the coach is kind of cool because you see him diagramming the plays and everything. Plus, you get to see the players. You know, these are young kids, 18 to 22-year-old kids. And I'm so impressed with the Gator basketball team.
Fun to watch. They've got some good players, a lot of new names. Go and check them out. I was really impressed with what they did against Florida State. And some big guys, and they put the hammer down the Seminoles. Good start. Let's hope it's going to be an interesting season. If I don't talk to you again, have a happy holiday season. Jeffrey, look forward to a great 2024 and being together with you and your wife to celebrate some special occasions.
Yeah, and buddy, I want to tell our Gator fans out there that Todd Golden is the real deal. Okay. In 1 year, he's put together this really tall team that's going to out-rebound just about everybody that they play. They've got some great shooters. We got 3 or 4, guards in there that are awesome.
Yep.
And I predict that the Gators are going to be a ranked team by the end of the season, and that you wait and see. They're going to make some noise around March Madness.
Sounds exciting. You'll be right there to report from courtside. Give us the inside scoop, Jeffrey.
Yeah, and January 6th is Meldon Law Day. We're playing Kentucky at the O-Dome. It's Meldon Law Day. We've got special shirts for everybody.
Giving stuff away again like you do all over the place. You're giving stuff away.
But it's going to be it's Kentucky, buddy. What do you got to say?
What are you going to do? Be a big night.
The home game against Kentucky is always the big game of the year.
Maybe I'll come sit with you tonight. So,
okay, January 6th, buddy.
All right, Jeffrey, have a happy holiday season. The best to you. And don't forget, Meldon Law, they do not back down. And they wish you a happy holiday season.
Yeah, happy holidays to everybody.
If you were in charge, who would you fire?
All right, I got you covered because I was waiting you to give me a chance. I want to go down the staff. There's only 10, 2 are gone. And say, let's play in or out. Let's talk about each guy, where we think he's going to go. Is there a chance he'd leave? Should he be fired or retained? You ready to play?
Yeah, let's play the game.
All right. Rob Sale.
Out.
Interesting. I was going to say in, but barely, but you went further than that. Out. Okay.
Well,
no, that's okay. You don't have to justify. Just say in or out. If you want to comment, fine. But I look, if you want to talk about the department that didn't get it done, offensive line is a poster boy for that. How they wound up like that. All right, here's one for you. Austin Armstrong, in or out?
Well, he's in. He's under a big contract for a couple of years, and you can tell that he's definitely staying. But you only asked me about one O-line coach.
Well, I'm going to get to him.
Okay.
Austin Armstrong, I would say in with the provision that he get a co-defensive coordinator or somebody who has a little more gray hair to be his top aide. He needs more experience on the staff. All right. Sean Spencer is gone. Jabbar Jaluke.
In.
Okay. I'm a little surprised about Corey Raymond. I don't know what happened. I'd like to know the whole story there.
Well, as a lot of people said, LSU didn't keep him because their DBs were playing bad, and our DBs haven't played great here the last 2 years. So I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
All right. Jay Bateman, linebacker coach.
I honestly don't have a comment on that guy.
I don't know either.
Yeah, I'd put a question mark there.
Okay, I agree on that. Okay, here's one interesting. Russ Callaway.
I'd keep him.
Good recruiter, supposedly. Tight end play was pretty decent, I thought. Had some injuries there. Billy Gonzalez.
I'd keep him.
He's in, I think. Mike Peterson.
I'd keep him. Even though his guys need to play better.
They do. Now, the second offensive line coach, Darnell Stapleton.
Out.
So you think
I'd keep Sale before him.
Keep Sale and get rid of Darnell? Is that what you're saying?
I'd probably get rid of both of them and hire one line coach. We don't need two.
Okay. I agree with that. And you just aforementioned Mark Hockey.
Out.
And back with David Whitley. David, you heard all that.
Any comments? Shane looked like he was descending from the heavens there with that background. Like it's the voice of God. So I hate to go against anything. Might get smitten down by lightning.
You might be. You got to be careful. Yeah. This is just top of mind stuff. We have no evidence and no fact. You can't. I mean, by the way, congratulations to Edgar Thompson who broke that story about the two fires. Now, I also said in this show, it's not been verified yet, 100%, that they were fired. The story said parted ways.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe both guys wanted to go to the NFL. I don't know, but they're gone, and they're making it look like with the spinners they got fired.
Yeah. Well, I would be concerned about that if Florida had put out something contesting it, saying that it was not a firing.
No, I understand.
But you haven't heard a peep from Florida because once Edgar broke the story, everybody wrote it, and it's been out there for 24 hours now.
No, it's legit.
It's
legit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just semantics is all I'm talking about. We know they're gone. Right. They go in late season and say, well, I'm going to go to the NFL. I mean, I don't know. We're not privileged to that information.
Right. No,
like everything else.
It would stretch credulity for them to try to say that at this point,
I think it would be interesting to hear what they said.
Right. Maybe they will never officially say fired, but everybody will know what it is. Maybe it won't look on his resume. It won't say fired. But the proverbial parted ways kind of thing, like when Dixie parted ways with me in 1978 for crushing like 100 loaves of bread accidentally. But that's I wasn't fired, buddy. Okay,
you reached an agreement.
Yes, we reached an agreement.
Get your butt out of here. Yes,
I was the Corey Raymond of the produce department at that point.
Think what you could have done too at Winn-Dixie if you stayed there. Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm a little surprised about Raymond. My sources in did I say Brewer? I said Raymond or Corey Raymond. I was surprised by him earlier this past year because the guy, my really good source out there who covers the team, told me that when they got him, they got a real steal, and that they were able to get him away from LSU. That would be a big deal. And I kept waiting to see some evidence that was there. I thought the first year was Tony's fault, but Tony's gone, and the defense, the back's end, is not playing much better.
No.
So maybe worse. So maybe Brian Kelly knew something, but he didn't keep him on the staff.
Yeah. Of course, whoever replaced him with hadn't done much better, but still, based on LSU's defense. But yeah, it's true. Now, as hyped as we were about him coming in, now you're hearing things. Yeah, he was a good recruiter, but he really wasn't that good. He was sort of covered up by the rest of the staff that made up for it, and blah blah blah. And with all these guys, it's not solely their fault that their positions went bad. There are considerations, how much did they actually have to work with, especially I think on that offensive line, when you looked at what they thought they might have coming in, and then the one kid goes, to Kentucky, they thought would be a starter.
That was a big loss.
Yeah. And the guys they bought in weren't what they thought they'd be.
George, you thought George was going to be great. He played for Nick Saban, right?
Yeah. But
he cannot play tackle, that's for sure.
Right. And, Cameron Waite's tearing as a kid, blah, blah. So, I mean, all these guys, you can't just say point the finger at them and they say they should be the fall guy. But that's true. As we said, it is a production business. And whatever they had, they didn't produce. And so just based on that, if we went down the list, Jaluki.
Well, go down the list. I want you to go put your 2 cents per thing.
Right. Well, give me the names as we go down.
All right. I have to go back and get them again. And my other list here. Hold on a second.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Jaluki. Rob Sale. In or out?
No. I'd say out.
Okay. Out. Okay.
Yeah.
Austin Armstrong.
In with an asterisk. I think it's too soon. One and done. They don't need another guy coming. So I think in. But as you said, you'd feel a bit better if he had, this generation's version of Bill Arnsbarger there to pick his brain on the staff.
You were Greg Madison. Jabbar Jaluki.
Oh, in just based on the production. I mean, nobody points to the running backs and say that was a problem this year.
By the way, the guy I keep calling Corey Brewer was a basketball player, not Corey Raymond. Jay Bateman, linebacker coach. Jay Bateman.
In. I mean,
okay.
Tight ends. Yeah, we're okay.
Tight end, Russ Callaway. You good with him?
Okay. Yeah, Jay Bateman, linebacker. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Bateman, again, he's sort of a mystery guy. I mean, I'd say keep him just for continuity's sake. Callaway tight end in.
Billy Gonzalez.
In.
Mike Peterson. Mike Peterson.
Yeah. A qualified in because they didn't play that. I mean, there were problems. Mike Peterson benefits from frankly, the legacy being Mike Peterson, and I think you give, and his first year, so you give, part of this is the guys who've been here 1 year versus the guys who's been here 2. I think, if it hadn't done it in 2 years and there's still issues that, that there's more to say, look, you've had more of a chance than a guy who's just been here for 6 months.
All right. And finally, Darnell Stapleton, do they need, well, I got one more. Darnell Stapleton, if you say Sale's going to go, then obviously.
Yeah, no, I think you just bring in one offensive line coach.
Okay.
And have at it. And that, that opens up the possibility, then you have an opening where you could get, the quote offensive coordinator or something like that, or dare we say special teams coach.
Yeah, they used to call him that. Game changer coach, I guess. Mark Hockey, I've heard in, I've heard out. I don't know. What are you hearing?
Yeah. Well, I mean, just based on what they've done, I got to say out. I mean, hockey. I like hockey. It seems like a
no, not the sport, not the sport. No, not hockey with a Y. Hockey with an E.
Hockey, yes, yeah. But again, been here 2 years, and you can't say that they're a physically dominant team.
No,
which is what you want. I mean, and granted, it's a tough neighborhood to be physically dominant in, but they haven't, especially on the defensive line, haven't shown. I don't know what you'd point to say, all right, yeah, I mean, things are going well in that department.
All right, David, I'm going to do this message from our friends at Titan MRI, and then I'm going to ask you one more question about the Hall of Fame candidates, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Titan MRI is worth the short drive to Gainesville. No insurance, no problem. You can pay with cash or card with same-day scheduling available. Start feeling better today because Titan MRI is North Central Florida's premier independent MRI facility. Come see why hundreds of patients are visiting our Gainesville location from Ocala, Marion County, and the Villages. That's TitanMRI.com. Okay, once again, Fred Taylor is up for the Hall. He obviously is a well-known player around here. His son's already played here. He's a semifinalist now for the Hall of Fame class of 2024. Do you think he deserves to be in? Do you think he'll get in?
I think he's a bubble guy who probably deserves to get in. Problem is that it's tough to do that when you play for the Jags. And also, I don't know who else is up this year, because that always plays a big role in that vote in that room. But he playing for the Jags, he didn't have so you sort of fly under the radar. But if you just look at the stats, he's one of those guys that you have to consider. But you say Fred Taylor, and to the average voter, it's like, good back, but they never paid attention to him really, because there was no reason, the Jags they had a nice run there, but the amount of publicity that he got over the years, just a lot of the voters still got to go back. Oh yeah, Fred Taylor. What did he do? So I don't think he gets in, unfortunately, but. And as I said, I don't know who else is up after 5 years.
I don't know.
But that always plays into it, because if it was a lean year, maybe so. But I would really be surprised if he does.
Well, we wish him all the best. Hope that he does. And David, what you're writing about this week, besides the obvious, and when's the next year going to drop them? Huh?
Yeah, I wrote about the first bit of house cleaning, and that more has to be on the way. One name we did mention here, because it's not a name, but if there was such a thing as the special teams coach in or out, I mean, that would be pretty much the no-brainer. So obviously, Billy needs to come up with something new there, and I think that I was surprised actually that the moves were this quick with Corey Raymond and Sean Spencer, just because obviously his mind was made up before the FSU game on these things, and so it's funny because these are the first guys he's fired. He's had fire here, and it doesn't seem it doesn't seem his personality to play the Grim Reaper. But I think he realizes, now it's time to play the heavy, and if nothing else, for his own self-preservation. So it had to be done, and there, I don't think this is the last we're going to see. So I do that, and then probably weigh in. It's a heck of an interesting weekend in college football coming up.
Yeah, it is.
All these scenarios, so to break that down, and what I hope, we always like a little controversy, something it's good fodder to write. But what I would really like to see is Bama to beat Georgia.
Yeah, wouldn't that be interesting? Can they?
And FSU to win, and because it would it may well come down to, do you go with Bama or FSU in the college football playoff?
Yeah.
And if you line those teams up, Bama would be a 14-point favorite now, since they lost, the Seminoles lost their QB. But do you turn down the 13-0 team that won a Power 5 conference? That's going to be hard for them to do. Cool. Yeah. So it'd be great to see how that pans out. I'd just be really interesting. And frankly, I think it would serve FSU better if they were left out and became a martyr for this. And because I think if they do get into the playoff, it's hard to imagine them not getting smoked by anybody. Now, from what we saw the other night, they're just not the same team. It's sad to say, without Jordan Travis.
Who knew that when he went down, maybe also the playoff hopes for FSU. That was a tough loss for them.
Yeah.
And all right, David Whitley, as always, it's a pleasure. I'm going to tell my friends about Renstar, and then we're going to turn it over to the other boys to finish up the show. And just remember, Renstar Medical Research has a high-quality, patient-centered clinical research facility right here in Ocala on the cutting edge of things like trials for Alzheimer's, dementia, psoriasis, osteoarthritis, migraine, fibromyalgia, and many other things that affect us in our community. You can be a part of these trials if you want to go to renstar.net and apply. If you do make it, you could be compensated for time and travel. Since 1998, Renstar has participated in more than 700 clinical research trials continue to partner with prominent pharmaceutical and biomedical companies in the medical industry. Renstar Medical Research, seeking tomorrow's answers to the health questions of today. If I want answers in football, I go to David Whitley and read his column in the Gainesville Sun. It's always a pleasure, David. Thank you for being on the program.
Pleasure's mine, buddy.
All right, thanks very much to David Whitley there. We didn't expect to be here this second half of the show, but the other co-hosts got tied up, and so it's my pleasure to bring aboard my buddy, a regular guy here on this twice a week, and you can read him on GatorBaitMedia.com. He's our coach, our analyst, the one, the only, Lauren Meadows. What's up, Coach?
How you doing, buddy?
Little kind of out of sorts tonight with our time here.
Yeah, that's all right.
Google apparently decided to change everything. I don't know if you tried to get on it lately, but both Brenda and I had a terrible time even getting on the Google page, and we did. My Google page says, you're not authorized to be on here. Well, who else is authorized to be on my page? Anyway, nobody cares about that. I guess you heard some of the stuff, Lauren, about in and out and what we're playing there. So let me turn the mic over to you for a second. Give me your thoughts about the coaching changes so far, and then if you want to go over the list and play in and out with us, you can do it.
Well, you the host, so we could play in and out if you want to. But like David said earlier, I think it was just Corey Raymond has just in a lot of ways been a disappointment, and the same thing with Sean Spencer. I mean, it just guys just weren't making plays, and I think both guys were doing a great job as far as recruiting is concerned, but like we've said so many times, the on-the-field product just was not where it needed to be. And, 3 interceptions, like you said, I mean, just not making plays on the football, not being in the right position. And, in the case of guys like Jason Marshall, even a regression in some ways where he wasn't playing as good as he had been the past couple years. So I think all of that pointed to, and like I've said, as a whole, I think the defense has had a little bit of a disconnect as far as the messages is concerned from the top down. And it's just evident that the group is not together. They're not playing with the butts on fire. And I mean, I think it was just one of those things where, if you look at the defense, those were the two most efficient groups of that unit.
Yeah, well, how many more heads do you expect will roll? This is going to be a lot of body swapping going on these days. What is it, December 4th when the portal goes open and people are going to be going right and left? There's all kind of rumors flying around. You've been reading tonight about the readers and listeners saying they heard ETN maybe going. I don't know. It's just all guesswork. The amazing thing to me is the people who covered the beat every day. I don't cover it every day. They, like Edgar, who broke the story today, is they know so very little, but so many people, listeners, and God bless them, I'm glad we got them, don't get me wrong. They seem to say with authority, well, he's gone or he's out. I'm not sure where they get their information from. I said on the show today with Shane, I wish people would at least give us an idea of their sources. I didn't say give me your source's name, but anybody can get over and say, Lauren Meadows is gone. Well, how do you know that? You just don't know. We can figure it out. It's a lot of guesswork, Lawrence, but it is. A lot of guesswork.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, you got some guys that are tapped into, some of their friends and things like that they may, somebody may have said, a couple things. I mean, you know that we happen to be tapped into a couple of the parents and things like that we may hear things that kind of give us an edge, but you really don't know. And as far as, Trevor Etienne will be concerned, I mean, it would be a big loss and things like that, but somebody will come down to Florida to run the football. I mean, they've got Tryon Webb. I would assume Cam Carroll will come back from injury, and Montrell Johnson Jr. could return as well. So I mean, it'll be okay. I mean, they've got running backs. So I mean, but in this day and age, this is kind of the new thing, and whenever things don't go the right way, and you have a 5-7 team, and you may not be getting the ball the way you want. I'm just not speaking to Trevor. I'm speaking to everybody. Guys can get up and go, and That's the new age now. So I think you're going to have this until he suits up against Miami on whatever that'll be, September the 4th or 5th. You really don't know nowadays with any kid, and that's just the new normal.
I see some people saying that Trevor Etienne is in the portal. Have you heard that?
I have not heard that, and I've been checking pretty regular, and I know some guys that stayed down into that. I mean, almost to the letter during this time of the year, and I have not heard that. Now, we could all wake up or before we go to bed tonight, but I have not heard that. And I'll give Jabbar Jalouk some credit. I think the one thing that he's been able to do through his career at LSU and at Louisiana and even here at Florida is he's been able to really manage those guys pretty well. And I think he does a really nice job of building relationships. And sometimes it's a lot about the relationship that you have with your position coach and things like that. And so I'm going to lean on Jabbar Jalouk to really be able to spend some time. If that's even a thought, I'm going to put my money on Jabbar Jalouk to, kind of keep him in the fold. I'm going to go on that Trevor Etienne stays.
Okay.
On that.
I've never been less certain of facts about this Gator football team in my life than I have been in the last 3 or 4 years. And I guess it's because you aren't allowed to have personal relationships anymore. In the past, we had those. I'm not complaining, I'm not griping. I understand that's the rules. It's just harder to do your job. And you don't want to get caught with bad information. So you make judgments. I really thought Corey Raymond was going to be a really good coach. That was just my estimate based on what people in Louisiana told me. It didn't turn out to be that case. I don't know what happened, but like I said earlier, I thought Patrick Toney was the problem, but he left and it got worse.
Yeah, he actually, it did get worse. And, sometimes, buddy, and I found this in coaching that some guys, they're really good at coaching really good guys. Like when they got good guys, like there's a coach in the state of Ohio, I won't say his name, but when he's got good players, he's really good. But he never makes the average players better. So what I'm going to say is Corey Raymond had the Tyrann Matthews, the Patrick Petersons of the world, and some of those guys. And they were so gifted that he was really good at not messing them up. And I think that was one of the things that, was that may be where Corey Raymond is if you're really good, he can get you where you need to be. But if you have to take somebody who needs a little coaching up or needs to be elevated, maybe that's not his strong suit. Doesn't necessarily make him a bad coach. It's just some coaches are a little better at taking the average kids and raising the level. Like Chris Peterson used to do at Boise State. He'd take that 1 and 2 star, and he's got a gang of pros in the NFL right now. He was able to lift those guys that were afterthoughts to the next level, and some guys just really specialize at that.
Yeah, I think Dan Mullen was the guy who got some 2 and 3 stars and coached them up at Mississippi State, and that was his theory. He could make a 3-star into a 4-star and vice versa, whatever. I mean, and when he got to Florida, he couldn't turn those 3 and 4s into 4 and 5s, and he's a better coach of average talent than he is of really good players. Now he had Tim Tebow. By the way, for the people who don't know this, when he was recruiting, Dan Mullen did not want Tebow. He wanted another quarterback. I know that for a fact. Of course, he took Tebow and did great with him. So anyway,
that happens. I think that I think people need to give. It happens. He really wanted Cam Newton too, and if Cam Newton would have stayed, he'd have turned out pretty good at the University of Florida. So he coached up Tebow, did his thing. He would have coached up Cam, and Cam might have won a Heisman here at Florida as well. So, I think that's, people need to give. Dan made his mistakes, but maybe that's one people should kind of let go.
Yeah. Yeah, let me bring up something to you that I meant to say the last 2 days, forgot to. When you're a coach, you get caught up in the flow of the game and trying to win the football game. And I get that. A lot of times it's the SID or someone comes to you and says, hey, Lauren Meadows needs 2 more yards for 1,000 yards. coaches have to be reminded of that. They dropped the ball on Ricky Pearsall. He needed 52 yards to get to 1,000. He got one catch. And I think that's criminal. The guy, what he did for this university, how hard he played, that someone couldn't have made, with 100 people on the coaching staff, could have said, hey, coach, he only needs a couple of catches to get to 1,000. So I don't know. I know coaches don't like to think that way, but that's one they owe to the young man.
Yeah, I would agree. The Meadows family has a special. I mean, the Pearsall's kind of we've gotten to know the family really well. So I mean, it was something that we kind of took some personal interest in as well. And yeah, I mean, he probably should have got it a long time ago. And I think, if we go from a schematic standpoint, I think a lot of people have wondered why from time to time Ricky Pearsall seems to vanish from the game plan, so to speak. And, I mean, it's something that, I mean, I don't know. I don't want to attack Billy Napier because sometimes that lends itself to attacking his character a little bit. And but I think if it's just something that they dropped the ball on for sure. And the young man deserved to have it. I know he works very hard, carries himself very well. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate for sure,
Now, I get that coaches sometimes they just get oblivious to things like that, and I know it's hard. But it could speak to another issue, that maybe Billy has too many things in his brain. He's trying to do too many things. Head coach, play caller, quarterback coach, et cetera, et cetera. And I think that's going to be the issue for the next coaches. In my mind, he's got to get some relief. Billy's not a bad football coach. He's a very good football coach. But I just always don't see anybody but him. I mean, the offensive coordinator is named Rob Sale. In my mind, the offensive coordinator, if he is that, needs to be in the huddle with the quarterback every time they're on the sideline. He's never. Who's in there? Billy. Because Billy's the offensive coordinator. He's a play caller. He's all things to all players. And you got to wonder if he doesn't need somebody to take it off his plate, whatever that might be, especially special teams. That's where he leaves himself open to criticism.
I would agree with that, buddy. I mean, I think you're spot on. I think right now with him trying to resurrect a program that shouldn't need resurrecting, but it does, that, to give that off to somebody and kind of really sink his teeth into, not just managing recruiting, but managing the transfer portal, really driving that where they can turn these things around in like a year. I mean, I definitely would agree with that. I mean, the special teams, I guess with the offensive coordinator, the question is, then does Billy step away and not coach a position? That could be a thing. He could hire somebody, they come in and coach quarterbacks, he could kind of step away. And then with the special teams coordinator, obviously most people hire somebody that is already on the staff to kind of handle that. They really have a separate, like the NFL, there's somebody on the staff. But I just think as a whole, the fact that our special teams haven't been the way that they should have been, is truly an indictment of the entire staff. Because like you talked about, Urban Meyer was the man when it came to special teams, but he also demanded that his assistant coaches coach special teams extremely hard. Mm-hmm. If you were responsible for the gunners or the guys blocking the kicks, that was just as important as you coaching the running backs and the receivers. If whoever you were responsible for on that special team, if they weren't doing their jobs, that was just as much an indictment on you as your position, and I think that that's where they got to get back to is I'm just not sure this entire staff is invested in coaching special teams the way they need to be coached. And then, like you said, I think Billy's got his hands in too many things, like you said, because there's no way, particularly with the season you have nothing to lose, that Ricky Pearsall shouldn't have definitely gotten the 57 yards he needed, to get over 1,000.
For sure. All right. What's your next move? You're the head coach. You're going to make some changes. You got a chance to hire some people. Give me names and who would you get?
Names? Man,
go pick your new defensive coordinator or whatever you want to do. Whatever you want to hire. Who do you get? You know people. You know coaches.
Yeah, I do know people.
Zach Arnett. I don't know. I mean, who you get?
I mean, I think we're good at. I'm gonna say I like Jeff Collins more than I like Zach Arnett. So I'm a Jeff.
But Jeff Collins
guy.
come here as a DC though.
Yeah, well, he was here before as DC.
I know, but he's done a few things since then.
Yeah. But you asked me my wish list.
Okay, all right, go ahead.
I like Jeff Collins. I like Taver Johnson, assistant defensive back coach for the Eagles. Coach with Urban. You may know the name, Coach with Urban at Ohio State. Lou Holt's disciple. Brings a lot to the table. Been a lot of different places. Has coached in the Southeastern Conference. D-line. I don't know, but you got to get somebody that's kind of fire and brimstone to kind of get that group tightened back up. I think Phil Trautwein, if you could lure him away from Penn State, is a good call at offensive line. And then I think you're pretty much straight. I mean, I like the idea of Jeff Scott as offensive coordinator. I think he's a man of principle enough that he wouldn't be in Coach Napier's way. I think there's a mutual respect there, and I think he could then take the quarterbacks, and I think he would do wonders with a guy like Graham Mertz and things like that, and really take him even to the next level. Because I think Graham Mertz, if he comes back, could end up being a first-round draft pick. I really think that much of him. So, really? And then I would make, like a guy like Jay Bateman, who, has some success at Army, things like that. Has been at North Carolina, seems to be on top of things as a whole. And, at a place like Army, you got to be disciplined and things like that. I think if you give him the special teams and make that his role, as well as linebacker coach, because a lot of those guys are on most of your special teams and things like that. I think that could put him in a good spot.
Having an ongoing discussion of a couple of guys. One of them is Neil Evans, who's a bit of a critic, considered to be a troll of sorts, but I think he asked he asked a few good questions, and we'll take comments from everybody. We don't just take all pro Gator comments. But I made a comment earlier about Billy being a good coach. And I think he is a good coach. He's a good man, good high character. By the way, I didn't see too many felonies on his players. His player conduct was really good. He's raising good citizens. He's emphasizing academics. He's balancing delicate matters of the NIL and the portal. And I think if he's given a chance, he could prove to be a very good coach. We always said he may run out of time. But here's a question I want you to answer this. Neil Evans says, buddy, I don't mean to be a troll, but in what way has Billy proved to be a good coach? I'll let you answer that.
Wow. I might be the wrong person to ask that. But as far as a good coach, I guess my thing is, I'll say it like this. A lot of times you're judged by what your players think about you and the people that work for you think about you as well. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say it this way. Unequivocally, to a person that I've ever spoke to that is involved in that program has said that they truly enjoy and believe in the vision that Coach Napier has put forth. And then as far as his players are concerned, I think he did a great job coaching, because see, a lot of these guys weren't there in Columbia, and I was. And to see how distraught that team was at the end of the game, and I was like, there is no way. How is he going to get these young men ready to play this football game in a week? Mm-hmm. Literally a week, 7 days from where I'm standing right now, where I'm seeing guys still in their uniform. They're so distraught with that loss at Missouri. And he was able to get them up. Now, the Jimmies and Joes caught up to him, because I thought Florida State was just a more talented football team. But his ability to get that team up every single week has been impressive. As hard as I can be on him, that's very hard as a coach, week in and week out. And he has done that. Now, He's got to do a better job. I didn't think he did a great job as a whole, but to say he's not a great coach.
Not a great coach. Not a great coach. A good coach.
Yeah.
Good coach.
Yeah, but he's a good coach. Yes, he's a good football coach.
No, that's what I'm saying. He's a good coach. Now, he hasn't got the resume to prove it yet, and we'll see if he doesn't get it done this year. It could be a tough go for him. I think you look back at some other times. I've seen the last 10 coaches of Florida I've known and interviewed, and I'm aware of some of the things they went through with. I think Billy has the makings of being a very good coach. Would I change some things? Yes. I'd never again allow to be too many men on the field. If I had to put 10 of those people down there and say count, or 11 guys down and say each somebody take a guy, I would never let that happen again.
Right. Or handle an end of the game field goal situation. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's his biggest downfall. It looks worse than it is when the head coach said how many people has got on the field, and you keep getting pre-snap penalties, and you keep repeating mistakes, and that's difficult. Now, I think the defense got better. I know people will laugh at me, but I even think starting with LSU, they began to get better. I think they played a hell of a football game for 2 quarters and about 9 minutes, 3 quarters, about 9 minutes. Remember, they were leading in that football game with 6 minutes to go, leading.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was an accomplishment. Now, look, people say, well, we don't believe in moral victories. I know that, but you've got to know what progress looks like if you know anything about football teams and see what the progress is. And they had, if they just would have won a couple of those close games, start with Arkansas and then FSU, I mean, think what their difference in their life would be right now. It'd be 7-5 going to a bowl. But they didn't get it done. So they got to pay the consequences. That means head's got to roll. And the one thing I would say that I would like Billy to change, I didn't think he was very aggressive in the portal. He got a couple of good players. Certainly Mertz was one of them. But I think that's where, in my opinion, he needs to go all out in the portal immediately to get players, because this freshman class coming in won't be ready to carry this team.
No, absolutely not. I agree with you 100%, buddy. We talk about it all the time in our pseudo production meetings that we have. Is he got to go out and get some men, and that's where you get your men is in the transfer portal. You got to get guys with starts under the belt at a high level. Don't have to be a Power 5 school sometimes, but guys that have really gotten it done at this level. 40 to 50 starts. And have been in the mix from day one at their respective schools and have done things to where, particularly on the interior line, the scrimmage, I mean, he's got to go out and get some men. And as much as people want to talk about Florida State playing in the ACC or different things like that, Mike Norvell has done a great job in that transfer portal. They have rebuilt that football team from the transfer portal. All those guys out there making plays were playing somewhere else at a couple seasons ago. And that's where they have really, it hasn't been through recruiting. It's been through the transfer portal where they have really made their bones. And I think in today's landscape, I think that far outweighs recruiting now. I really do. And, I think that things will go a lot better for Billy Napier, and I'll be a little bit selfish if he would sit down to one of the Southeast best writers, and have a talk. That might go a little better for him if he sits down with a guy like Buddy Martin. I mean, you got the ear of the people, man. So I think that a well-written column and a sit down, that would be my suggestion for him. Since you sat down with everybody since what, like I said, last 10 coaches.
Bob would have, yeah.
Yeah, so, but no.
But they don't care about that anymore.
But with all that said, I think that, yes, I agree with you 100%. That transfer portal has got to be, we got to go get some dudes out the transfer portal. They have to come in and be starters. The guys he brought in this year, I think maybe 5% of them started. They can't just be guys. They got to be dudes,
Yeah. All right, so here's the deal. Next time I talk to you, Brendan's hosting Thursday night, so I won't talk to you again until Tuesday. By the time he gets to Tuesday, I want you to bring me some dudes. I want you to tell me some players you like to go after. Okay?
Okay.
You have a better idea who's available at that point in time. And lastly, I want you to answer this question. Andy McIntosh is one of our more erudite listeners and followers. Lauren, do you think there's a chance Creed Whittemore might come back to UF? That would be an excellent pickup, in my opinion.
I could see that possibly being a possibility, but I think maybe with UCF being in the Big 12, I think UCF might be more of a possibility simply because the Florida Gators are going to be pretty loaded at receiver. I mean, they've got some guys coming in. I think they're going to go out and get a couple transfer portal guys, and then you got, Khalil Jackson, you got Caleb Douglas coming back, you got Trey Wilson, Andy Jean. I just think, sometimes that room gets a little crowded, man, and he would really have to hump to get some targets there. Whereas, I think UCF probably is more of a possibility. I think he comes back to the state of Florida, but I don't think at UF.
All right, Coach Lauren Meadows, he'll have trivia for us on next Tuesday night. It's kind of a crazy day, a lot going on. We'll see what tomorrow brings. It's going to be interesting. If nothing else, these next few days, see what happens in this program. That's for sure.
It's going to be an interesting 9 months, buddy, for sure.
It is.
Yes, sir.
All right, Lauren, thanks very much. You can read him on Gator Bait. He won't be doing his game analysis anymore, but he'll be writing. So check him out. Coach Meadows, thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. All right, we'll wrap it up with this. The camera's gotten a little bit cattywampus here tonight. It's been a kind of a crazy day. Anyway, we'll say thank you for this, and thanks for watching. Thanks to all of our guests. And for all of you, another big night here on the Buddy Martin Show. And back tomorrow night, we've got Allie Peak Wilbur and David Moulton, Sweet and Sour, coming your way tomorrow night. So be sure and join us then.